Welcome to the deep dive. You know, we often marvel at what happens on set, the actors, the cameras, all that amazing energy. But have you ever truly paused to consider what happens after the director yells cut?
Hmm.
Because the world of post-production, that's where the real alchemy of filmmaking often unfolds. It's where the magic is not just captured, but really meticulously created.
It really is, yeah. Post-production is, it's so much more than just cleaning things up. It's where all those raw bits and pieces from the set get sculpted, refined, woven into a cohesive, immersive story. Every single frame, every sound is just so carefully crafted to make you feel something specific, to pull you right into that world. It's this whole series of, like, invisible but incredibly detailed crafts that turn hours and hours of footage into that seamless, impactful movie experience we all love.
Right. So, for this deep dive, our mission is pretty clear. Pull back the curtain on these essential, often hidden stages of filmmaking. We're going to try and reveal the intricate artistry behind every visual choice, every sound cue, show you how that journey from raw footage to, cinematic masterpiece actually takes shape piece by piece.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Once the cameras stop rolling, you've got all this footage. I mean, sometimes hundreds of hours.
Well, easily. Sometimes more.
So what's the very first step? How does an editor even begin to turn that mountain of clips into a coherent narrative?
Right. Well, that initial crucial stage is generally called the assembly cut. You can think of it as the editor's first raw pass at telling the story in sequence. It's where all the selected takes for each scene, the ones the director liked, are basically just compiled and arranged in script order. You get basic dialogue, maybe some key sounds, and it's usually much longer than the final film. Way longer, sometimes double the length. Yeah, because the focus there isn't really on polish or artistic pacing yet. It's purely about making sure every single story beat, every necessary angle or piece of coverage is present and accounted for. It's really the raw foundation.
So it's less about the flow at that point and more like a diagnostic check, making sure the whole story is physically there on the timeline before any deeper work starts.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. It's about laying down the entire narrative arc first. The main goal is getting the full story onto that timeline, checking that every scene, every plot point from the script is actually represented by footage. And this first look is vital for, well, identifying gaps, spotting missing shots, potential continuity problems really early on. It serves as the starting point for refinement into what comes next, the rough cut.
Yeah.
It's often long, yeah, a bit clunky maybe, but absolutely essential.
That makes total sense. And I imagine to handle all this footage, all this complexity, editors must be using some pretty sophisticated tools these days.
Oh, absolutely. The software is critical. Editors rely heavily on nonlinear editing software, or NLEs, which, completely changed filmmaking, allowed instant access to any clip, unlike the old tape days.
Right, linear editing. Nightmare.
Total nightmare. So now we have several industry leaders, each with its own sort of strengths. You got Adobe Premiere Pro, super popular, especially because it links up so well with other Adobe stuff like After Effects for VFX or Audition for Sound. Really versatile.
Yeah, the Adobe Suite integration is pretty seamless.
Then there's DaVinci Resolve. It was famous for color grading first.
The best, right?
Yeah, arguably.
Yeah.
But it's evolved massively. Now it's a full NLE editing, VFX, motion graphics, audio, all in one package. And they have an incredibly powerful free version, which is amazing.
That free version is a game changer for indie filmmakers.
Totally. Then there's Avid Media Composer. That's been the Hollywood and TV standard for, well, forever. Known for being rock solid, great media management, really good for big teams working together.
The workhorse.
Kind of, yeah. And for Mac users, there's Final Cut Pro, known for its magnetic timeline, which some people love, some hate. Very efficient for organizing media, popular with indie creators in the Apple world.
So it really depends on the project, the workflow, maybe budget?
Exactly. And your computer sometimes.
Yeah.
But they all essentially do the same core job. Give editors the digital canvas they need.
Okay, so once that story backbone is in place, even if it's still rough, it's time to make the film really look amazing, right? Beyond just the raw footage, how do filmmakers manipulate what we see to, create a mood or feeling?
Now we're talking about color grading. This is the artistic process of enhancing and altering the color of the film, often meticulously shot by shot. And its purpose goes way beyond just making things look pretty. It's about hitting a specific look, yes, but also intensifying emotion, making sure everything matches visually, and really defining the film's whole visual personality. It's where raw footage gets its soul, in a way.
So it's definitely more than just technical correction. It sounds like a powerful storytelling tool itself. How does that work? How do colorists weave that into the film?
Oh, hugely powerful. Color grading does several vital things for the story. First, consistency. Correcting those color and exposure shifts that always happen between takes, different cameras, changing light. It
Yeah.
makes the visual flow seamless so you're not jolted out of the story.
Right, so it doesn't look patchy.
Exactly. Then, mood and emotion. Colors are, they're incredibly potent psychological triggers. Warm tones might feel comforting or passionate or even dangerous depending on context. Cool tones can suggest sadness, mystery, isolation. Grading just cranks up those emotional cues, guiding how you feel subconsciously.
Yeah, you definitely feel the difference.
And then there's visual storytelling. A specific color palette can do so much differentiate flashbacks, maybe highlight a character's inner journey, signal big shifts in the story. Think about the really distinct green tint in The Matrix, or the super vibrant, almost dreamlike colors in Amelie. That's all intentional color grading.
Defining the world visually.
Precisely. And there's a specialist, the colorist, who uses advanced software, often DaVinci Resolve again. They do primary corrections. First, that's like overall balance exposure, white balance. Then secondary corrections, where they can isolate specific things.
Like making a red coat pop.
Exactly. Or maybe toning down a distracting background element. And finally, they apply a creative look, maybe using things called LUTs, lookup tables, or adding film grain to get a specific artistic style. They're constantly tweaking contrast, saturation, the intensity of colors, hue, the specific shade, and balancing the highlights, shadows, and midtones, sculpting with light and color.
It's incredible the level of control, but okay, what about the things that are just impossible to film or things that weren't captured on set because they're fantastical or too dangerous or just wildly expensive? This is where reality gets bent, right?
That's exactly where visual effects, or VFX, step in. VFX is basically any imagery that's created or manipulated outside of what was actually filmed live. It's the art of conjuring up fantastical worlds, impossible creatures, sometimes even really subtle fixes, things that would be impractical, dangerous, or just plain impossible to capture, purely in camera. VFX really just blows the doors off storytelling possibilities, allows filmmakers to realize almost any vision they can imagine.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me because most people hear VFX and they think,
Giant robots, exploding planets.
yeah, exactly. But so much of it is stuff you don't even notice, isn't it? The invisible art.
Absolutely. That's often where the most brilliant work lies. The spectrum of VFX is huge. You've got CGI, computer-generated imagery, that's creating whole characters like, Gollum or the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, or entire environments like Pandora and Avatar, all built digitally from scratch. Then there's compositing. That's the tricky part of seamlessly blending different visual elements together. Live action, CGI, digital paintings, green screen shots, combining them so they look like they were always part of the same single shot.
Like putting an actor filmed on a stage into a digital city.
Exactly. Or adding a sky that wasn't there.
Yeah.
You also have matte painting, these incredibly detailed digital paintings used for huge backdrops or cityscapes where building a real set would be insane. And set extensions where they digitally build onto a smaller physical set to make it look way bigger or more complex.
Smart. Saves a lot of money, I bet.
Huge amounts. And even things like rotoscoping, tracing over footage frame by frame, which is tedious but necessary for effects like lightsabers or isolating elements for really complex composites. And yeah, it's important to distinguish between those invisible effects, fixing mistakes, removing wires, maybe adding subtle weather, and the spectacular effects that are meant to blow you away.
The ones that get the awards.
Often, yeah. But very often, the best results come from blending VFX with practical effects, things actually done on set, like explosions or models. There's a whole complex pipeline: previs, asset creation, animation, rendering, and finally compositing to make it all look real.
Okay, so we've built the story, we've painted it with incredible visuals, color, effects, but a film is only half done without sound, right? Let's dive into that. What about those super detailed, like human sounds we barely notice but are totally essential? Footsteps, clothes, rustling.
You're so right. Sound is, at least 50% of the experience, maybe more sometimes. Those specific nuanced sounds you're talking about, that's the domain of Foley effects. It's this amazing post-production technique where everyday sound effects are actually performed, recorded, and added to the film in perfect sync with the picture. Named after Jack Foley, a sound pioneer. It's absolutely crucial for realism, for ambiance, and for adding emotional texture that might be missing from the location sound.
So wait, those specific sounds aren't just picked up by the microphones on set, they actually make the sound of footsteps later in a studio.
Precisely. That's the magic of it. Production sound gets dialogue, maybe some background noise, but it often misses those subtle sounds. Or sometimes the sounds recorded on set just don't have the right quality or impact.
Hmm.
So Foley artists work in these special studios, Foley stages, that are packed with props, different surfaces, everything you can imagine. They'll literally walk in different shoes on different floor types to get the perfect footsteps, tired footsteps, hurried footsteps, nervous footsteps. They'll rustle specific fabrics for cloth movement, and they use all sorts of clever, sometimes weird tricks, hitting a melon or a cabbage for a good punch sound.
No way.
Oh yeah. Snapping celery stalks for breaking bones, crinkling cellophane for the sound of fire. It's wild.
That's incredible.
It's called an invisible art, because when it's done well, you don't consciously notice it. It just makes the world feel solid, real, immersive. And it's different from general SFX, sound effects, which are usually pre-recorded sounds like, say, a car crash or an explosion library sound.
That is fascinating, the sheer creativity involved. Okay, so we hear all these sounds, dialogue, Foley, music, background noise. How do filmmakers manage that? How do they decide which sounds the characters inside the story can hear versus the stuff that's just for us, the audience?
That brings us to a really key concept in sound design. Sound diegetics. It's all about distinguishing between sounds that come from within the story's world, that's diegetic sound, and sounds that exist outside that world, purely for the audience, that's non-diegetic.
Okay, diegetic and non-diegetic. Got it.
So diegetic sound is anything that characters can actually hear and are aware of, their own dialogue, obviously, footsteps, a car driving by on screen, music playing from a radio in the scene, a phone ringing that a character answers. The purpose is realism, grounding you in the scene, immersing you in the character's world.
Makes sense. And non-diegetic.
Non-diegetic sound is strictly for the audience's benefit. The characters can't hear it. The classic example is the film score, the background music, or a voiceover narrator, unless it's a character thinking aloud or something specific within the story. Its job is usually to evoke emotion, set a mood, maybe build suspense, communicating directly with you, the viewer, outside the story world.
What's really interesting there, though, is that the line can blur sometimes, right? It's not always a strict separation.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
And that blurring can be really effective. Sound can actually transition between the two. A piece of music might start as non-diegetic score, setting a mood for us. Then a character turns on a car radio, and suddenly that same music becomes diegetic. It's now playing in their world. They can hear it too.
Ah, that's clever. Connects our experience to theirs.
Exactly. It links the external mood with the character's internal reality in that moment.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Speaking of non-diegetic sound, the score itself, I mean, music in film is just incredibly powerful. How does that specifically composed music shape our experience so profoundly?
Yeah, the film score is, gosh, it's so much more than just background noise. It's a critical non-diegetic element. It shapes our emotions, enhances the story, and often becomes totally iconic, right?
Oh, definitely. You hear a few notes and you're instantly back in the film.
Exactly. Its main job is emotional manipulation and mood setting. It guides us, subconsciously tells us how to feel. Bernard Herrmann's violins in Psycho Pure Terror, or John Williams' soaring themes, Instant Adventure or Wonder.
Goosebumps just thinking about some scores.
Right. And it also enhances narrative and character. Composers often use leitmotifs.
Leitmotifs?
Yeah, these are recurring musical themes tied to specific characters, places, or ideas. Think of Darth Vader's Imperial March.
Instantly recognizable.
You hear that music, you know he's there, or his influence is felt, even if he's not on screen. It communicates power, menace. The score can foreshadow, build tension, even control how fast or slow a scene feels, just with music. And finally, the score provides unity and continuity. It helps bridge different scenes, locations, moods. It ties the whole film together with a consistent tone.
So it's like the emotional glue of the film.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
Emotional and narrative glue.
Okay, so we have all these layers. We've got dialogue that needs to be clear. We've got intricate Foley sounds. We have background environmental sounds. And this powerful manipulative score. How on earth do they blend all of that together so it's not just noise? What's the final step?
That final, absolutely critical step is the sound mix. This is where it all comes together. It's the post-production process, where every single individual audio element, dialogue, music, SFX, Foley, ambience is balanced, layered, processed, and blended into one cohesive, impactful, and clear final track.
The master track.
Essentially, yes.
Huh.
Or multiple tracks for different formats like stereo or surround sound. The person doing this is the re-recording mixer. They're like the conductor of the firm's auditory orchestra. They meticulously balance all the levels. Dialogue absolutely has to be clear and intelligible, right? Music needs the right intensity for the emotion, but can't drown out important dialogue or effects. Sound effects need punch, but shouldn't be overwhelming.
It's a real balancing act.
Totally. They use spatial placement too, panning sounds left or right, front or back, and surround sound to make the soundscape feel three-dimensional. They manage the dynamic range, making sure quiet moments are truly quiet and loud moments have impact without distortion. The goals are always clarity, especially for dialogue, continuity so the sound flows smoothly, emotional impact supporting the story, and deep immersion, making sure it sounds great everywhere from a giant cinema to your earbuds. It's that final auditory polish that really makes the film sing and supports everything we see on screen.
Wow. Okay. What an incredible journey through these often invisible arts of post-production.
Oh.
From just getting the basic story down in the assembly cut to meticulously painting the visuals with color and, mind-bending VFX, and then building that entire world of sound with Foley, scores, and that crucial final mix. It really shows the layers upon layers of craft in every film.
It really does. And these aren't just technical steps, are they? They're deeply creative choices. Every single one impacts how you, the viewer, connect with the story, how you feel it. They take that raw material from the set and elevate it into this fully realized, immersive world. It's shaped by so many talented artists and technicians whose work might fly under the radar, but is just essential to the magic.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now when you next sit down to watch a movie?
Well, it raises a really interesting question to think about. The next time you watch a film, try to notice, can you really separate what was just captured by the camera from what was meticulously crafted, manipulated, added, layered in post? Or is the real magic actually in that seamless blend, that almost imperceptible combination of everything working together to just pull you into the story? Pay attention to the subtle cues, the feel of the color, the specific quality of a sound, maybe an effect you didn't even realize was an effect. You might be surprised just how much is intentionally designed purely for your experience.
A whole new way to watch. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We really hope this gives you a brand new appreciation for the incredible artistry and the sheer hard work that goes on behind the scenes of every film.